evening, everyone. My name is Graham Mitchell. I'm the city manager for the city of El Cajon. I want to welcome you and thank you for being here this evening and giving us your valuable time. This is not always time is not free, and we really appreciate your dedication to our community. So let me just first start by talking about what we're doing, and you'll get a little bit more instructions as well. But we're really trying to gain feedback. We're trying to listen to what is important to the residents of El Cajon at Parkway Plaza. And and using those needs, those values, those priorities, it will help us shape a land use plan that we're currently working on. Now, let me make it clear. The city of El Cajon does not own Parkway Plaza. We don't have day-to-day control or operational authority over the mall. But we have land use authority as a city. And what we're thinking about is the long-term view of, or the long-term plan for Parkway Plaza. So getting that kind of input is really important to us. So as we develop this plan, we want to make sure that we include those needs, values, and priorities in that planning document, but just also recognize that it has to be steeped somewhat in reality too, right? So if everyone on this call says we want to build the new Charger Stadium and we want to bring the Chargers back from Los Angeles, that may be what we all want, but it's not steeped in reality, right? So it does have to have some reality base to it. It has to make financial sense. So we're going to be listening to you tonight, and then we're going to take all this information and put together presentations both to the public and also to the city council for some more feedback and some more opportunity to dialogue. So with that, I'm going to turn the time over to Nate Prescott. Nate works in the city manager's office here in the city of El Cajon. He's going to get us kicked off, but I want to say thank you again. I'm actually going to log off and then log back in as a participant, and so I'll get to be part of the community. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thanks, Graham. That was a great intro. And, I just want to reiterate, welcome everyone. Thank you for spending your Thursday evening with us. Thank you for attending our first community workshop for the Parkway Plaza Reimagining project. Just FYI, this workshop is being recorded. We want to be able to show this to put it on our website, show it for people who weren't able to attend tonight. So this workshop, this video is being recorded. So again, thank you everyone for showing up. We're excited to get your input, and we're excited to put together a plan that can help turn Parkway Plaza into a thriving economic center for El Cajon. We're all very passionate about the future of Parkway Plaza. We're passionate about the future of El Cajon. I'm especially passionate about this project. I grew up going to Parkway Plaza. My parents grew up going to Parkway Plaza. So I'm very passionate about it, and all of us here at the city and our team here really understand the passion that the community has for Parkway Plaza and what that we all hope to have, great results into the future for Parkway Plaza. So just to get started, I wanted to give you some background on why the city is involved in this and what will come out of it. So the city and the mall property owners, we all have a vested interest in the success of Parkway Plaza. But with the current market conditions for development, like inflation, increased interest rates, and tariffs, the landscape for doing a big development project and changing the face of things is really difficult to pull off these days. So the city wanted to step in and work with the property owners to create a plan for the future. We're trying to create a plan that is informed by the community and supported by the community. We want to make a plan that is informed by economic data and industry best practices, and a plan that really experts will all agree on that it will be successful into the future. So the city is paying for this plan, and we hope that by us coming in and helping to remove some roadblocks and figure out some of this plan, that the property owners, that we could remove roadblocks for the property owners and lead towards some revitalization of the area. Now, as we get started into this, there's lots of conversations going on about Parkway Plaza. It's a really popular topic, and we wanted to just clear some stuff up from the very beginning. So first off, we're creating a planning document that the property owners, that will aid the property owners for the future of Parkway Plaza. We're not dictating necessarily what will be at Parkway Plaza, but we're creating a plan with the property owners based on data, evidence, and community support. All of this will be valuable enough that we hope that everyone will want to follow this plan. We're really trying to create a great plan that will guide us into the future. The plan's intent will be to keep the property as a commercial hub. We still want Parkway Plaza to remain a business hub and remain a job center, but the property is 81 acres. There's lots of opportunities for more than that. Most thriving retail centers nowadays have an ecosystem of business, housing, green space, and lots more. So although we want it to be a business hub, it isn't necessarily only going to be a business hub. And to be even more clear, just to go along with that last point, we're not going to be recommending to demolish the mall and put all condominiums or all affordable housing on this whole 81 acres, despite what the social media comments would have us all believe. Although housing will likely be a portion of this plan or a component of this plan, it's not going to be the majority of it. As I said, it's our intent for this area to remain a commercial and a business hub. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into this workshop. We're going to go over the agenda. So as you can see, here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to introduce the meeting process and our team. We're going to give you some more background into Parkway Plaza. You're going to hear directly from some experts on our team, and we'll do some visioning. We'll get your input, and then we'll talk about next steps and how to stay involved, and we'll finish with some Q&A. So the Q&A section, as you will notice down below, there's nowhere for you to submit. There's not a chat. You're not able to come on mic and talk to us. Please use the Q&A function at the bottom of the screen. If you have any questions, please use the Q&A section. All your questions or comments will be addressed throughout the presentation, but if we run out of time and we're not able to address any of them, we will answer all of your questions on the Q&A section of our website, which is elcajon.gov/Parkway Plaza Reimagining. So our team, I'll introduce myself. I'm Nate Prescott. I am a senior management analyst in the city manager's office with the city of El Cajon. My main focus at the city of El Cajon is over economic development. So I'm out working on long-term and short-term projects to help grow our economy and help the business community. I wanted to introduce our consultant team from Kimley Horn. We're lucky enough to have some experts here guiding our project. The city held a competitive bidding process where Kimley Horn and 11 other firms submitted proposals for how they would help the city create a land use plan. And we were most impressed with Kimley Horn's proposal. I'll turn the time over to Stephanie to introduce her and her team.
Thanks, Nate. Hi, Stephanie Whitmore. As Nate mentioned, I'm the project manager for this effort with Kimley Horn. I am a planner and environmental analyst and project manager. I've been working in the San Diego region for about 25 years on a variety of different planning efforts, and really excited to be able to help with Parkway Plaza. So I'm going to let Serby introduce herself next.
Hello, I'm Surbi. I'll be the deputy PM for this project. I'm a long-range planner and have 20 years of experience in this field. I will be assisting Stephanie with this project and concentrating on land use development and development standards.
Hi, I'm Diego Velasco. I'm with City Thinkers. We're part of the Kimley Horn team, as well as the city team, helping with conceptual design and master planning. I'm an urban planner, urban designer, and trained as an architect with 25 years of experience in the San Diego region as well, and just really excited to be here tonight.
Okay, so next slide. So for those who may not be completely familiar, just want to give a little bit of background on the regional and local context for Parkway Plaza, its environs, a history of what's been going on at the mall, and also some past efforts that the city has undertaken regarding this particular site. So as Nate already mentioned, the site is approximately 80 acres. As you can see on the screen, it's the yellow polygon. It's very centrally located. The mall site is also about the same size as downtown El Cajon. The site is located about 1/4 mile directly east of the Arnell Transit Station. So it has great access to our regional trolley line and only 5 stops from San Diego State University. So you can see the site is really well connected, not only within the city, but within the regional context as well. Around the site, there's really a variety of uses. There's commercial uses, residential uses, and it's and employment uses as well. It's really in a multi-use area. So specifically about Parkway Plaza itself, like many other mall developments around the country, as Nate and Graham mentioned, this mall has struggled with a loss of tenants and a loss of customers, which was really exacerbated in recent years due to the COVID pandemic. And Diego is going to talk a little bit more later about those mall trends nationally. So you can understand what's happening around the US. But here in El Cajon, there was recently a loss of a major anchor tenant, such as Walmart, and that's really been driving and amplified the need for reimagined uses here at the mall site. Also, as was previously mentioned, the city does not own or operate any of the properties at the Parkway Plaza mall site. However, there is a vested interest from the city, the community, the mall stakeholders to really revitalize the mall site into a live, work, play environment through supportable developments that really synergize with the surrounding neighborhoods and stimulate economic growth and development at this site into the future. This site has been studied before, and some of you who have been tracking efforts in the city in the past decade or so may recall some of these. In 2018, I had the pleasure to also help the city with a rezone program that was citywide, but this site was rezoned to a mixed-use overlay that allowed for some residential on the site with the idea of creating new infill housing opportunities. That has not manifested in any changes on the site in terms of new residential development to date, as you can tell if you've been there. So in 2023, the city undertook a market analysis that really took a really deep look at possible redevelopment options for Parkway Plaza, what would be viable from a market standpoint into the future, where there is demand for different types of uses. That was based on some technical data and interviews with numerous stakeholders, and also incorporated various case studies. Recommendations were presented to the City Council in 2024 from that study. Some of the considerations for renovations and improvements and investments included unique retail and restaurant concepts, multifamily apartments, hotel, and then also potentially some outdoor plazas and spaces. Next slide. So here, I want to share with you a little bit about not only the why. I think we've been talking about the why, and that malls are generally not thriving nationally, and that Parkway Plaza specifically has revenue down 60%. And it's really time to look at reimagining. How are we going to do that? So the scope of work that Nate mentioned that was put out for bid has many steps in it. So first and foremost, we're going to start with a thorough look of existing site conditions. We're going to look at the existing infrastructure, the viability of the reuse of that infrastructure, and that infrastructure includes roadway infrastructure, parking infrastructure, water and sewer infrastructure, all of which are necessary to serve future development on the site. So we're going to take a look at all of those existing conditions. We're also going to look at the surrounding uses, the surrounding connections in terms of transit and multimodal and bike, how people get to the site. We're going to look at any environmental conditions that potentially exist in the area as well. So we will wrap that all into a big site analysis document. And then in terms of the market conditions, there was that market study that was done in 2023, 2024, but we're going to take a deeper dive, and we're going to look at more specifically various types of uses that may be viable to include in a land use plan for this site. What we're doing tonight, outreach. So we're going to do lots of outreach and visioning for the site. We're going to identify the priorities of the community, the mall ownership, key stakeholder groups. We're going to do that through multiple vehicles over the course of the next year and a half. We have a couple of workshops planned. We'll have a couple of pop-up events. Most recently, the team was just at Haunt Fest. We're also going to do some charrettes, design charrettes, and some focus groups. So there will be a lot of engagement that happens as well. Back one slide. We're going to take all of that input. We're going to take the site analysis. We're going to take the market analysis. We're going to take all of the public input, and we're going to do a strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, or a SWOT analysis for the site. And that's really going to then inform what we feel are the appropriate program of uses that could be accommodated on the site. Combination of residential, retail to commercial, but a program of uses. And then we're going to take, as Nate mentioned, those uses, and we're going to create a land use plan. So physically placing those uses on the site, circulation patterns, identifying where certain components that are identified as being viable would physically go and be located on the site. We're going to create development standards and design guidelines that will help inform future development on the site for future users, future tenants, future developers. And we're also going to go back one more time, and we're going to test the financial feasibility of that plan. We're going to make sure that the program of uses, the land use concept, the cost of the infrastructure investments, all of this is going to be fiscally and economically viable, hopefully. And so we're going to make sure that this is a plan that can really be implementable. We're going to do more CEQA review. There's been CEQA review done previously on the site in 2018 with the mixed use overlay, and we're going to do more CEQA review, and that process will include its own public outreach components as well. We're anticipating preparing a full environmental impact report for the land use plan. And then finally, we'll have public hearings, and there'll be additional time and opportunities for the public to comment at those hearings as well. Now the next slide. So just putting that all to a timeline so you can see when these various things are going to happen. As I mentioned, pop-up outreach, community workshop tonight, fall of 2025. And then once we get past the holiday period, we're really going to then dig into the site analysis, the market analysis, and start translating those analyses into a program of uses in that land use plan that I talked about. So that'll happen over the course of spring and summer next year. We're going to develop a plan that will be available for public review and comment, and that is the plan upon which we will do the CEQA analysis. So that analysis does take some time, and so that'll probably commence towards the end of next summer if all goes well. And so looking at a total about 18-month timeline for this process, culminating in public hearings for adoption of the land use plan and certification of the EIR, maybe by the end of 2026 or early 2027. So that is our target timeline.
Stephanie, do you mind explaining what CEQA is? We had a good question in the Q&A section. I thought it'd be a good time to address it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I don't know that we come back to that. So CEQA is an acronym for California Environmental Quality Act. So it is a state law that requires local agencies like the city of El Cajon to undertake environmental review for essentially large-scale projects. And this would be considered a project that needs to be reviewed under CEQA. So what that involves is looking at all of the impacts of different topics like traffic or cultural resources, air quality. And so we do analyses of all of those different environmental impacts, and we memorialize that all in a document called an environmental impact report. That document does get released for public review for 45 days, which again looks to be about fall of 2026 that'll happen. And the public does have an opportunity to provide comment on the environmental impacts of that plan at that time. Hopefully that's enough on CEQA. We'll talk more about CEQA, I'm sure, at future outreach events. And then I think we're moving on to the visioning segment. So I am going to turn it over to Diego.
Thank you, Stephanie. Yeah, just going to spend a little time today providing a little brief history of how malls across the country have evolved over time and what this might mean for Parkway Plaza. So if you go to the next slide. So traditionally, I think we all know, kind of grew up with a traditional mall built around anchor stores, department stores, um, regional retail that might have a food court, movie theater. Um, they were places that people went to for primarily just shopping and a little bit of entertainment. As some of those department stores started to close and retail began to shrink, many malls have transitioned to what we call power centers. And these were dominated by big box stores. So the big stores like Target or Best Buy, along with some convenience retail, nail salon, hair salon, those sort of things. And then around the edges of the parking area, we begin to see kind of fast casual dining, your Panera Bread kind of a dining or maybe even drive-through restaurants. Those now have transitioned to, what we call more mixed use districts. As shopping habits have changed and there's been a growing e-commerce, the next evolution really is toward creating these vibrant places that combine retail with housing, with office, with recreation, and other community spaces, making malls less about shopping per se and more about the experience of adding fine dining or market halls, even in some cases, co-working spaces or places for events and other community services that are really bringing people to the space for reasons beyond just the retail. Parkway Plaza is positioned right at this point of transformation, moving from that single purpose retail center toward more of a mixed use community hub that can support daily life, work, and recreation. So it's an exciting time. Next slide. So it's a little bit of background about Parkway Plaza. There's been a gradual increase in the vacancy rates at Parkway Plaza with over 50% vacancy and major anchors like Walmart and Macy's having closed. Visits have also dropped over the last 5 years, and the dwell time, or the time that people spend at the mall, is also down. Why is this the case? There's a couple of reasons. Economic factors, there's the rise of online shopping, really reducing those in-person visits. There's also a decline in big box leasing and more of an increase in smaller format retail leases. But there's also social factors. Consumers are valuing more of a local experience. They are younger, more diverse, and value affordability. And there's also a demand for more of a mixed-use, walkable, entertainment-rich environment. So I want to spend also a little bit of time just thinking about, as we start a discussion later on ideas for Parkway Plaza, how should we frame some of those potential opportunities? Next slide. So we are beginning with 6 potential ideas. One is, and they're in some ways they're questions. How do we transform that shopping experience at Parkway Plaza? And I think that could also begin by reimagining what's the draw? What is going to create that destination? What's that anchor? Also thinking about how we can create jobs in the process and support economic development, because that's a very important goal, as Nate had mentioned earlier. Thinking about how important Parkway Plaza is for the larger city of El Cajon. Adding diverse living opportunities is one part of it, one thing to consider. to create that mixed use 24/7 community. Providing community services. What are the things that support you in your daily life? And then finally, bringing all this together toward developing a new sense of hospitality. What's really going to attract people to stay? What's going to make it a special place moving forward? So next slide, we have a series of potential ideas. We've been looking at examples from across the region and the country. When we talk about experiential retail, so much of it is focused on that walkability and creating kind of a town center, mixed use, walkable environment, a place where people can go for a stroll, grab a coffee or ice cream, and really just linger, that they can feel like they can stay, they can spend a good time in that space. Next. And also finding ways to promote community events. Maybe a movie night at the park or concerts, community gathering events, farmers markets. What are the things that, what are the ways that Parkway Plaza, and what are the things that can be done there to promote those activities, those events that support your community. Next. And maybe thinking about those anchor stores or those big boxes that are so-called dark, they're empty. Could those transition to support employment uses or education? We've looked at examples such as the mall in Austin, Texas, where they have converted a former department store into a community college campus, or supporting research and innovation. Some of the spaces here might be able to do that. We might be able to adaptively reuse the larger spaces to support that employment use. Next. Or how about sports and entertainment? We're seeing a lot of a renewed interest in developing these large areas for sports facilities. Or as in the example in St. Louis, we're also seeing malls being developed as family-friendly entertainment places that could include action-packed family events, concerts, outdoor spaces combined with food and beverage, such as a brewery, outdoor games, and esports as well. Next. Some of those sports could be indoor soccer, or batting cages, or rock climbing. And we're also interested in this new interest toward pickleball and the idea of creating a pickle mall where you could take some of those department stores and convert those spaces to that use. It's certainly a popular sport at the moment. So could that be a possibility? And as we're thinking about sports, we should also consider that there's this rise in esports and building in technology into our community spaces. And there are certainly several malls in other parts of the world where that technology is really becoming a center point of the mall. So how do we consider that? Next. And also community services. Are there ways that we can provide for some of those basic services and really create a complete and cohesive community, bringing in healthcare? The Chula Vista Shopping Center has just recently built a Sharp healthcare clinic right at the mall. There's a large mall in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio, that has actually gone even bigger picture, and they have reimagined the entire mall site as a larger scale community that is complete with all the different things you would normally see in a community. A community center, library, athletic fields, playground, parks. Next. But there are also things that are smaller scale that we can incorporate into the mall today. We're seeing at the Otay Ranch Town Center, as an example, bringing in a branch of the city's library to a storefront at the mall. or having a community hub space where maybe kids could do after school activities, a teen center. These are things that we might want to consider for some of the existing spaces at Parkway Plaza. And finally, housing, the question of housing, as Nate mentioned, that could be one component for us to consider. And I think one of the questions we have for you today is what scale of housing? You know, there could be a range. There could be really a range of different types of housing for different groups. And so what is that right mix? And I think with that, those ideas, we can move on to the Mentimeter. So I'll pass it off to Serby.
Thank you, Diego. Next slide, please. So in our next few questions, we will dive into some interactive questions using the platform called Mentimeter. I'll just wait for the slides to upload. We'll just give a couple minutes. So please use the browser on your phone or computer to access menti.com for this portion of the presentation. And then once you access the site menti.com, it will ask you for a code. Please enter the code that is displayed on the screen. It's 9174819, and you'll be able to answer the next few questions. So this will be an interactive question and answer session. So I'll give some time for you to get to menti.com and enter the code so you're set up to answer the questions. Now, after every question you answer, please hit the submit button after you finish answering each question. I'll give a couple more seconds so everybody can get set up to answer these questions. So with that, I think we will move on to the next slide and our very first question. So on your browser in menti.com, you will see this question come up. What words describe your vision for Parkway Plaza? So you can type in one or two words. These could be words such as creative, placemaking, yes, opportunity, celebration, housing choices. These are some examples. Again, please type and hit the submit button. And you can submit more than one answer. If you have more ideas, please go ahead and submit more than one answer. We will use some of these words to create a vision statement for Parkway Plaza. We have community as a word, entertainment, family friendly. Those are all great choices for a vision statement. Multi-use, yes. Entertaining future, growth, education. There are lots of good ideas there. Food, definitely. So that's big. Multi-purpose, clean energy. I see pickleball. Shopping, of course. I'll wait for a few more seconds till the slide settles down. As you type, our word cloud will start expanding. Safe. Okay, looks like the word cloud is settling down. Okay, with that, we will move on to the next question. Thank you all. So our next question is, what brings you to Parkway Plaza today? You can select all that applies. If you come to Parkway Plazas for reasons other than those listed here, you can always choose other, and you can type your answer in chat feature. The chat feature is at the bottom of your screen. You can, and it's open for this question. You can type your answers if the reason you come to Parkway Plaza is not listed here. And again, please make sure to hit the submit button so your answer can be recorded. Lots of great choices. Looks like dining is very popular. So is shopping. Give a few more seconds for the answers to settle down. We have some interesting answers in other section as well. Indoor walking. Okay, seems like the answers have settled down. We can move on to the next question. So our third question is, tell us what would make it easier for you to get to Parkway Plaza. Again, if you have ideas other than the ones listed here, please choose other and type your answer in the chat feature. This is basically about how you get to Parkway Plaza, what will make it easier for you to get here. Safer crossings, that's popular. Enhanced pedestrian access. So it looks like the answers have settled down. With that, maybe we'll wait for a couple more seconds. Okay, with that, we will move on to the next question. So this is again related to visioning. So for this question, please type in a few words to explain what would increase your interest in visiting Parkway Plaza. And all responses will be displayed here. And again, please remember to hit the submit button. It is stores, and we have some questions related to some of the uses that people have asked, whether those are feasible. And this is where we are trying to understand what the community wants. So please type those answers here so we can consider those uses as we design this place. Walking paths, good coffee. Yeah, that is very important. Better food choices, restaurants, small businesses. A concert venue. Shopping options, a dog park. We're also receiving some answers in the chat, things to do with kids. We've received some questions where people have asked for a wave pool, a pond, some very interesting ideas. It seems like the answers have settled down. And now we can move to our next question and the last question. So for our last question, please choose what are the three things Parkway Plaza should prioritize in addition to retail. If you have, again, ideas that are not listed here, please use the other button and please type your answers in the chat feature. And some of the ideas that you have provided as a part of your Q&A, we'll add those ideas also to our outreach survey, outreach summary. Entertainment seems to be a very popular choice. Okay, seems like the answers have settled down. So with that, we come to the end of our interactive questions. And we'll wait for a couple of seconds for the slides to load in again. And we'll talk about how you can stay informed and stay involved in this process. Next slide, please. Next slide. So to keep the community engaged throughout the process, we have launched a project web page on the city website and an interactive mapping survey. This web page serves as main hub for project updates, event announcements, and documents. The interactive mapping survey lets you drop pins, share ideas, and identify opportunities or concerns directly on the site map. So in addition to offering us with variety of ideas today, you can also use the interactive mapping survey using the QR code or the web link provided here, and you can provide more ideas there. Next slide, please. So the next step and future engagement opportunities, let's take a look at some of these next steps. As we move forward, community engagement will be central to shaping the vision for Parkway Plaza. This virtual community workshop today is organized to introduce ideas and gather early feedback. Then in spring and summer of 2026, as Stephanie mentioned, we'll go a little deeper through virtual focus group sessions and in-person sessions, including design sharettes and a workshop. And this will help us refine concepts and test alternatives with the community. We will finally have a public review draft for the plan in fall of 2026. And all throughout this process, we will continuously share information via city's social media platform and project webpage. So please make sure to go to the project webpage regularly to find other opportunities to provide your input. And lastly, now we can begin the Q&A session. There is a Q&A button at the bottom of the bar. You can use that to type your questions. We're already receiving a lot of questions. And we'll start answering that. With that, I will turn it over to Stephanie.
All right, thanks, Sarbi. All right, Question number 1. Are there any notable vendors, businesses, restaurants, etc., that have reached out and are interested in coming to Parkway Plaza already? I'm going to turn that over to Nate and Graham. We don't have any knowledge of that as the consultant
Yep.
team.
Yep, I can handle that. So yes, first off, the current mall owners and the management company, they're always working to try to bring in new businesses to the mall. But in general, yes, there is currently interest for some new restaurants that we know of, and there's interest and talks and things in the process. But really, they nothing more that we can really announce specifics until they announce it themselves. But yes, there's constantly new businesses moving in there, and there's still attraction for businesses. There's still value for them moving in there. So it's still a work in progress, and we hope more to come in the future as well.
Sorry, finding. Question number 2. Can you explain what a design charrette is? I'm going to let Diego answer that since I think he's going to be running those.
Sure. Yeah, and I included an answer in the chat directly. A design charrette is a really fun, interactive, hands-on, in-person workshop. We'll have lots of materials such as maps, drawings that you can engage with and activities to really not just obtain ideas, but to develop those ideas. So it's a little bit more in-depth and hands-on than a traditional workshop. And they tend to, be in person and run a little bit longer than a traditional workshop. So we look forward to having those and getting you all to be designers with us. I hope that answers it.
Okay. The next question is, won't the site be competing with the development efforts in downtown? That's a great question. And that is something that, I can let Nate and Graham speak to more, but ultimately the market study is really to evaluate what is best uses on Parkway Plaza, but it's considering the scope of the entire city, right? We're looking at what is most beneficial on the mall site, and that will consider the pros and cons of the mall site versus downtown and some of those considerations. I don't know, Diego or Nate, if one of you want to weigh in more on that.
Yeah, I'd like to say a few things. So first off, we're definitely taking it into account, downtown El Cajon. We're also planning to have some representatives from the downtown El Cajon business partners as some of the stakeholders in some of the planning that we do. So they're going to be involved. But it's very safe to say that there are businesses that might want to go in the mall that wouldn't want to go downtown, and there are businesses that would better fit downtown that wouldn't want to go at Parkway Plaza. So we really think that we're not fighting within the city to put businesses in places. We haven't had those issues yet. We think that it'll happen organically, and we won't be taking away business from the downtown area. We're so close that we think that this will have a catalyst effect on the whole area. As some great projects start happening in the area, it'll just benefit all the outside areas as well. So Diego, I don't know if there's anything you want to add to it, but that's my 2 cents.
I think the one thing I would add is just that should be part of the process. We would want to see what are the kind of complementary uses and activities that could happen at Parkway Plaza to really reinforce downtown. So I think that will come out of the process as well.
Next question. Did everyone answer that who wanted to weigh in? All right, great. Would I think this is meant to say, would the owners of Parkway Plaza and the city of El Cajon consider affordable housing units? So again, I have to direct us to the market study that's going to be done which will predict what types of uses are viable. Is there a demand? Is there a market demand within the community, within the region for affordable housing at the mall site? Sorry, another question popped up. So the market analysis will look at those types of considerations in terms of the types of housing, if it's apartments or for sale, or at what types of densities could feasibly and be developed in those locations for all of the reasons that we talked about before. Not just the market, but the site analysis and the capacity and infrastructure, and all of those factors are going to be taken into consideration. Now, in terms of actual affordable housing, I don't know if the city wants to, Nate or Graham, if you want to weigh in at all on the affordability issue and what the city is seeking to accomplish with affordable housing.
Certainly, Stephanie. Thank you so much. So, you're right. You're exactly right, or Stephanie's exactly right. I mean, the market study will help us understand what the market would bear, what's being demanded in the area. And we'll wait to that. We'll wait to see what that says. However, having said that, El Cajon actually has one of the highest concentrations of affordable housing in San Diego County, and with that comes positive things, but also negative things. So, I think our intent, if we had a magic wand and if the market conditions were right, we would prefer there to be more moderate incomed housing or market rate housing with a lot of home ownership opportunities. So that would be our ultimate goal. But again, we'll have to see what the market study says, because that's what will drive the financing. That's what will drive the demand for development.
Okay. Let's see. Next question. The trolley is fairly close to the center. Is there a plan to expand the center through the underused land to include the trolley and add market rate residential? I can answer this question in two parts. So first of all, I guess I should preface it by saying, part of our process is to look at the site and its environs and those connections. So we will be studying those as part of the land use plan. That being said, it has been articulated already that there is a desire to look at specific connections from the mall site to the trolley center. And that would be maybe improvements along our Nell that facilitate pedestrian or multimodal connections. Now, in terms of changing land use outside of Parkway Plaza, that is not part of the scope of the study as it exists today. So, Nate, I don't know if you want to add anything else.
Yeah, you covered it very well. I just wanted to throw in, a lot of these types of projects, after you do the first phase of a project, some more great things happen organically, and that's like Stephanie said, right now it's outside of the scope of this project, but we do really hope that there will be more great things between Parkway Plaza and the trolley station. That whole area we think could be ripe for some more great projects as well. So, great question.
I'm waiting for the next question. Here we go. Okay. Will solar be included in future plans to alleviate the cost of running a business? Electricity is very expensive. That's a great question. And right now, that is a detail that we haven't specifically discussed as a consultant team with the city. But one of the objectives of the consultant solicitation was to look at sustainability features, which could include renewable energy on-site generation, including solar or other energy conservation features in the design. So while specifically, again, we have not addressed placing solar on the site, we will be considering those types of energy conservation features that could be design guidelines, could end up being development standards for future development within the land use plan area. And if anyone else wants to jump in, feel free. Okay, hearing no one else wanting to address solar. Next question. Once decision is made on how Parkway Plaza is repurposed, will current vendors be asked to close down during remodeling? That's a tough one. This is really about how the mall operates their facility, right? And we don't really know how much of the existing mall structure would be modified, if any, at this point. There's a lot of land within Parkway Plaza that is surface parking and is underutilized. So that is all part of what would be discussed as part of the land use planning process. And, you know, tenant agreements and how the mall chooses to turn over tenants is really something that is outside of our consultant scope of work. And that's a business decision for the mall owners.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and reiterate that falls more into the implementation of the plan. You know, that's something to solve in the future. But like Stephanie said, there's lots of underutilized land. There's opportunities. There's some low hanging fruit with there's more parking spots than the mall currently is required to have. So there's lots of creative ways that those problems could be solved.
Okay. Next question. How are you going to decide which businesses in particular to include? Like, if I have a business idea to pitch, who do I talk to? So we're not, you know, the land use plan is not going to call for specific businesses. We're not going to say, I shouldn't even say it, put an In-N-Out burger here because everyone loves In-N-Out, but it's not going to be of that nature. It's going to be the different types of land uses. So retail, live work spaces, you know, incubator office, residential, multifamily, public space, park. So it will not be prescriptive in, you know, the type of retail. That's really based on the market conditions and something the mall owners would be doing during implementation. So I would say you would talk to the mall ownership if you had a business idea to pitch. But if it's a land use or, you know, a concept, that's the input we're taking from the public tonight and throughout this process. And if it's even of a specific type of, you know, retail, those are things I think we'd like to hear because I think that'll be important for the mall ownership to hear as well. Anyone else want to add to that? Okay, hearing no takers, we'll go on to the next question. I'm not sure how many we have here. So, are there any activities that are in conflict with the current businesses at the mall? Hopefully not. Again, you know, we're very, very early in the process, but part of what we hope to get input on is, you know, the potential for conflicts, right? So as we develop the program, we'd want to make sure that we create a program that is not inherently conflicting in a non-beneficial way with what's going on. And there will be a period of transition nonetheless with whatever happens at the mall. This all won't happen at one time, right? The implementation will take a period of time into the future, a number of years. Be a gradual transition. I hope that helps answer your question. I don't see another question yet. Oh, here we go. Okay. Will the city of El Cajon be offering grants, especially to existing businesses to help with growth? So I'm going to turn that over to Nate and his team.
Yeah, in the past there have been a few opportunities. We did a like a signage grant, a facade program grant to help businesses, you know, fix their signs. Honestly, a lot of that has been during COVID and as a direct result of COVID and COVID money. Throughout history, there has not been, besides very specific programs and projects, there have not been very many grants that cities put out or counties even that put out that just go to help support business growth. Occasionally there are opportunities if there's you pair up with a nonprofit and there might be some opportunities for other things. But as far as coming from the city, grants to help business growth, we don't foresee them in the near future, as most of that COVID money has all gone away. But we'd love to. There are lots of other ways that we try to help businesses. We have lots of business resources listed on the website. And there are other ways to help businesses besides financially, and that's what we're trying to focus on. Graham, I don't know if you had anything to add as well.
Yeah, maybe just the other thing. There was a time when cities all across the state of California did provide financial assistance to businesses, but that was really funded through redevelopment agencies. And in the in the mid 2000s, California banned or outlawed redevelopment agencies. So we don't have that mechanism anymore more like we used to. So that is a challenge, and we will continue to struggle with that as well as our emerging businesses.
Um, will the final decisions on land use include deference to whatever the future uses are for Grossmont Center, just a few miles to the west? Um, I can't speak to final decisions, but the market analysis will definitely take into consideration other regional shopping centers to ensure that there's viability. Obviously, the region can't support two of everything, and I think that's part of what has been demonstrated by the evolution of malls, as we talked about earlier, right? So the market analysis will look at what is already existing in the region and how much more of a certain type of use is viable at this location, given what else is happening around. Um, and then the decision, of course, is on the land use plan, and that goes to City Council for adoption.
And I just want to throw out, we hope to collaborate with Grossmont Mall. I mean, they're close, and to all extent possible, cities try to be collaborative, and work together because we're beyond just El Cajon. We're a region, and if the region fails, El Cajon isn't really going to shine. So we all try to work together and play friendly, and we would love to collaborate with them more throughout this process and hear about their possible plans and how we might all be able to fit some puzzle pieces together, possibly.
Next question. Could this have the potential to gentrify El Cajon? That's a really big question. I'm not quite sure how to answer that. Anyone else want to take this one?
Yeah, I think I can take that. Again, gentrification is not about stopping investment. It's more about finding a balance of uses so there is no displacement of existing residents. So when we work on a land use plan, we will see how there will be a balance between affordable housing versus new housing and newer uses. And again, as Stephanie said, a lot of that depends on the market study as well.
And I just want to throw in, it's not like there's housing currently at the mall that we're going to be bulldozing to build, nicer stuff. We're trying to build a whole new ecosystem, in that area. So it's kind of just a new leaf for that area. I wouldn't call it gentrification at all.
Great. Next question. Can you look at creating a vocational training hub with the community college district? That's a great suggestion. Sure. We'll write that one down. And these are the types of suggestions that, are really welcome from the community as well, because the market analysis is not going to identify every opportunity that's out there. So thank you.
Definitely, I'll weigh in on that.
Yeah.
There's been some great examples of mall rebirths or reimagined malls that have included an educational component. Downtown Escondido was kind of dying, and there's a private college now that's anchored in that downtown, and it's really helped it thrive. So I think that's a great suggestion. There's lots of opportunities for infusing educational opportunities.
Okay. El Cajon has a lot of industrial and construction companies. Will any improvements be worked on by El Cajon businesses to keep the money in the city and support local? I'll let the city maybe speak to this, but at the end of the day, the city is not the developer. The mall ownership is the developer or any private parties that they engage with.
That's exactly right, Stephanie. The city is there to help develop a land use plan. Once developers choose their parties, and they will go out and solicit the best deal. Now, if the city were happening to be developing it, we also have to follow procurement law, but we do have a preferential treatment for local businesses, so they actually get a little bit of a bonus in the scoring. So if we're the ones actually initiating the project, then they have a better shot. But if it's not, it's just open market, which is, capitalism.
Next question. The mall is disproportionate. Stores die in the parts away from the food court. Do you have a plan for that? If so, what is it? Don't have a plan for that yet. Still thinking about programming and identifying what future uses may come to the mall. And then we'll be doing the site planning or the land planning and establishing where those go. Thank you for, communicating that though, because I think it's important for everyone to know that maybe food is an attractor. And so that's good information for the team. Thank you.
Stephanie, I'll weigh in really
Yeah.
fast on that. Yeah, I agree. And just as a reminder, we said it at the beginning, we have no operational control over the mall, so we don't get to say where businesses go or don't go. But we do communicate with the mall management, so we will pass that tidbit along to them. So it's a great suggestion.
Next question. We like the idea of adding a career center in the mall. How do I find contact information for the property owner? I'm going to let the city staff address that one.
I think if you go to the mall itself, you can actually there's a management office there. Just go feel free to talk to them. I think if you even Google Parkway Plaza, there's some contact information to reach out to their management side, and that's who you would talk to.
Great. Aside from surveys and town halls like this one, is there another way that we can be more hands-on with the development of Parkway Plaza? I certainly want to be more involved in the conversation and more. So we are also programmed to have design charrettes and focus groups. So I don't believe we have established the content. I'm sorry, not the content, the participation list for those activities at this time. We're just still in the early stages of getting input. So I believe we are going to be continuing to communicate via email and the website with those who have expressed interest. And we'll keep you apprised of additional opportunities to participate. And some of those will probably be more on the design side, as I mentioned, the design charrette, when we really get into the land use planning.
I can add to that. We also have an ongoing interactive survey that you can go to. You can find the link on the project webpage, and that will help you put pins exactly at locations where you would want certain uses. So for example, if you want a green space in certain location, you can exactly tell us where you would like to have a green space. And we'll take all that into consideration when we are designing this.
Thank you for that reminder, Sarvi, that we do have that online tool, which is really, really neat. How involved is the ownership? At the end of the day, they will have the final say in what happens there. Yep, they will. But the city is adopting the plan. So it is a collaborative effort. And it does require, obviously, the mall ownership to be on board, because they will be largely responsible for the implementation of any of the private side. That's a non-public use. So I don't know if there's anything that you can elaborate on, Nate or Graham, about the mall ownership's participation.
So Graham, city manager, just had to pop off. He had a prior commitment that he was jumping towards. But yes, so sorry, remind me the question again. I just lost my train of thought.
So how involved is the mall ownership?
Yep, sorry. Yeah, so we, as you can tell right now, we are in the very early stages of this process. We're getting input. But all the mall owners are aware. We've talked to them. We've told them about it. They're all friendly and willing to participate in the conversations and in the plan. As we mentioned, it's vital that the mall owners are involved in the process and that they like the directions that things are going. So we plan to involve them in even the higher level steering committees that will help decide on some of these aspects. So right now, in this very early discovery phase of this project, they're aware of this, they're friendly, they're open to it, and we plan to engage with them more and get their buy-in every step of the way.
And I can add to it that we're creating a specific plan, and what that means is it will come with a set of development standards, which is similar to what you see in zoning. So when you have development standards, which we will create in collaboration with the developer and with the community, will come at an understanding of what the developer wants plus what the community wants, and that becomes standards for whatever is planned in this area, along with the land uses or permitted uses that are allowed in this area.
Great, thanks, Sarvi. Next question. What about a hospital? East County only has one hospital, Sharp Grossmont, and lately it's been overcrowded due to it being the only option for East County residents. We haven't heard the word hospital thrown out yet in conversation. I don't think it was identified as part of the 2023-2024 market analysis. I can't speak to why not, if they studied it or if they looked at hospital as a potential use on this site for viability. It could be something that's considered in the market analysis that's part of this effort moving forward. So we will pass that on. I don't really have, unless you've heard anything, Nate, at the city level about additional medical office or expansion of Sharp Grossmont opportunities or another competitor, I suppose.
Yeah. So first off, great. Thank you for including that idea. We'll definitely consider it and add it to the pool of possibilities. One update that I can give on hospitals. A few months ago, Kaiser was at City Council. They were talking it's been a few months, so I don't have specifics, but they kind of just agreed on a plan that Kaiser was planning to build some sort of facility in kind of where they have something in Bostonia. I can't remember the cross streets off the top of my head, but there is some Kaiser facilities in El Cajon, and they have their plan to build more facilities to address this problem exactly. So there is some talks of it. As you know, nothing is concrete until we're in there at a doctor's checkup. So there's still opportunity for changes, but there is plans. They've been at City Council. They've had long-term plans to build. Kaiser has a long-term plans to build a facility in El Cajon.
Great. Next question. Is there any synergy or coordination with the redevelopment going on in downtown El Cajon? So I feel like we kind of already answered that. So I may skip over that question because I think we have quite a number more. And we can come back if we have time at the end. Will the mall ownership have representatives attending or participating in this project in the future? Yes, mall ownership is one of the key stakeholders in this process, and they will be involved in our efforts as we continue to move forward. Next question. Does the city of El Cajon have a building height restriction? If it doesn't, Parkway Plaza could be a hub for all of these amazing suggestions tonight: entertainment, sports, education, dining, shopping, even healthcare, by simply creating levels for these. Apartments could even be part of it. So I think let's answer the first question about the height restriction. So I'm sure the city has multiple height restrictions in various zones across the city as part of their zoning ordinance as it exists today. That being the case, because this project is including a specific plan, it will have completely new sets of development standards, including height and floor area ratios and lot line setbacks and all of your typical development standards. All of those will be revisited for this site as part of the specific planning effort to ensure that whatever the program of uses are that are decided upon in conjunction with the land use plan can actually be conceptualized and realized on this site. Those development standards will fit what we want to do here. The second part of that question, I think, is maybe just a comment. Yeah, it could be an amazing hub for all the suggestions tonight. So thank you for those. Next question, is there data available that identifies what people in the region are buying from sources on the internet? And can this data be used to point the owners in the right direction for future vendors? So I don't have all the the technical detail on this. I'm not sure, Nate or Graham, if you want to talk about that, but this also goes to the market analysis and understanding what retail opportunities are viable in this type of location.
Yeah. Part of that market analysis, there's going to be an economic analysis. So there will be some looks into this, and possibly in the future there are other studies that can be done that are currently outside the scope of this, but there are other studies. There's a study called sales tax leakage reports that you can find out where El Cajon residents are leaving El Cajon to go shop, and how do we get those types of businesses here so that they spend their money here in El Cajon. There's ways to find some of those answers, and we hope to have some of it included in this study.
Next question. Will there be a plan to address the homeless situation? I'm going to kick that over to the city. It's outside of our scope as the consultant team for this project. I don't know, Nate, if you have anything you want to say about the city's overall plans.
Yeah. So, I mean, the homelessness issue is definitely talked about constantly within the city, and it's one of the biggest concerns of the city council and most of the residents. So we hope to look into that and figure out ways to deter homelessness. But the one answer that I can give is that really the way that many other locations have been able to deter homelessness was by activating the area, and having the more foot traffic that goes through, the less, usually homeless people, they want to go someplace quiet and where there's not a lot of people around. And the more activity and excitement that we have in these locations, the homeless people will likely self-select and find a quieter location where they can fly below the radar. As of right now, that's the best answer that I can give you, that we're trying to create a location that there will be lots of foot traffic and excitement and activity, where and we'll continue to work on it. We have a homeless, not called this, but we have a homeless task force in our police department, and we're specially trained to work with homeless individuals. We have lots of resources throughout the city. We're doing a lot to work with all the nonprofit partners to address homelessness as best we can and help those individuals. So those are some of the aspects of it. But it's a good point and something that we will definitely, it will be on our mind as we're creating this plan.
Thank you, Nate. Next question. I'm not sure if this is our last. It looks like it might be. Where is the funding for all of this going to come from? So the current planning effort is grant funded through a Smart Growth Incentive Program grant from Sandag for what we're doing here as part of this planning effort. In terms of implementation, it's going to be implemented by the mall owners or their tenants or their development partners if they engage with other entities to come in and build certain components. I'll let Nate speak to, if there are public components that end up as part of our land use plan, like park facilities, or something of that nature, trails. There could be a public component, and I'll let Nate speak to how maybe that funding would occur.
Yeah, I think you gave a great basis of it so far. The only thing I'd add is, like you said, if a public park is an amenity that is recommended, or public infrastructure improvements that would benefit everyone, those might be places that the city, the county, the state, or other governmental nonprofit partners might be willing to help fund. So we're definitely going to be looking for how to leverage all the help that we can get. If some of this development starts, as we get into this implementation phase, the city wants to help gather up all the possible partners that would want to see a successful community project out here as well, with community aspects of it. So hard to say, at this very early stage, but the capacity is there, and as you can look at other malls in the area that are doing really well, and the free market has a great hand to play in it as well. If developers see that there's money to be made, and owners see there's money to be made in making some of these changes, then they're incentivized to do them.
Great. Let's see. Another question here. In regards to transportation, we have vehicles, freeway, trolley, bus, but we also have an airport. Is it worth looking at other cities that offer a small airport and see what types of land uses, I think, work nearby to create revenue and travel opportunity to El Cajon? That's an interesting point. We are aware of the proximity of the airport, and that is not something that we've directly talked about considering in the plan right now. I hate to keep coming back to it, but again, the market analysis is really going to take all of the factors. They're going to input all this information in to really vet what types of uses would be viable at this location and would be economic generators for the city. So we can circle back on that.
Yeah, and I'll add a little bit if that's okay.
Of course.
The airport could likely be outside the scope of this. It might not affect it super well, but it is something that is on the city's radar, and it's a tough cookie to crack of how do we optimize our connection to the airport and how do we get the most out of it. But it's something that we're actively working on, and we're on committees that the Gillespie Field committee that's we're on a couple committees that are involved with Gillespie Field. We have good relationships and partnerships with the county, who's over that airport, and trying to do outreach to the businesses as well, and trying to have more of a connection to that area so that we can leverage that resource. You're right; it's a great resource that could better be utilized in our community, and we're working on that right now.
Another question, can we change the name of Parkway Plaza? It is known to be a little scary and unsafe. That's up to the mall ownership, but we'll note it for the record, I guess. And that's a fair question to raise in terms of rebranding if the mall is being reimagined. Do we have any more questions? Waiting to see if our moderators are already. Okay, there's one more here. Do we know why Walmart pulled out of Parkway Plaza? Nate, do you have the backstory on why Walmart left?
I don't have the backstory. All I really know is that they didn't come to terms, and when their lease expired, and I don't know. It's complicated business relationship, and the city, no one has to tell the city why these things happen. So, that was a private business deal. And we hear often the desire for Walmart, but I don't have any inside information to share about what happened with Walmart at Parkway Plaza. Sorry. It's just the way things are sometimes. It's a mystery to me as well.
Sure. I did see one question about the carousel, and I think that keeps coming up. We will make a note of that. It seems to be one component of Parkway Plaza that really has a strong legacy and brings back a lot of nostalgia and memories for residents of the community. So we have seen lots of interest in the carousel. I believe we don't have any more questions. I'm looking at my moderator typing. I believe she said there's one left. And then anything else has probably been duplicative. Let's see, does the owner of the property own any additional adjacent properties connected to the site? I actually don't know. Nate, are you aware if mall ownership owns anything off-site of Parkway Plaza?
Not directly, as far as I know, not directly adjacent to the mall. No, I don't think so. I think some of them might own property possibly in El Cajon, but in other cities likely, but nothing directly adjacent to the mall property.
Great. I think that was our last question then. So Nate, I don't know, do you want to wrap it up?
Yep, happy to. Thank you everyone for attending. We really appreciate it. This has been a great conversation. We've got a lot of great ideas. We're able to answer a lot of questions. We really appreciate your collaboration and your input into this plan. Like we said, we really we're not going to spend all this money on making a plan or a project that nobody will come support. So the community is a really important aspect of all of this. So we really appreciate you giving us your insights and spending some time with us tonight. If you have more questions, please follow up at our email address where you can send questions, you can send comments, ideas, anything you want to Parkway Plaza Reimagining at kimley-horn.com. If you guys want to take a picture of this slide, you can follow back up with it later, but we've also got an email list. So as we're working on things and we need input, we might be sending out emails. We might be sending out updates over emails. You can sign up at the QR code. You can follow the city on Instagram. We periodically do updates on this as well on Instagram or Facebook. And you can check our website as well, elcajon.gov/Parkway Plaza Reimagining. We really want you all to stay involved. We know how important Parkway Plaza is to the community. So again, thank you for your time, and we'll give you back a little bit of your night. Thanks everyone for your input.